Okay.
And it says we're live.
We are live. Bingo. Hello.
Live on Instagram, live on StreamYard, live in my
Facebook,
office,
live on LinkedIn. We
live
are
on LinkedIn. We're everywhere.
the dynamic duo. I'm Blaine Bartlett. And my
it's
partner
Tuesday.
in crime.
Tuesday afternoon.
Tuesday at 2.
We're here.
Blaine and Doland. Live
right.
with Blaine and Doland. We are the power of you. That's what we're doing this week and next week and the week following. We are this whole series, the power of you. We're taking chunks of leadership, and we're bite-sizing it. And the next, at least 3 of these sessions are going to be focused on something we're calling the 5 lies of leadership. And if you find yourself in any kind of a leadership position, you don't have to be running a company. It may be just a team. It may be a department. It may be your family. You're leading your family. And we're going to talk about what a leader is in a little bit later here. But there are lies that you have probably run into that kind of seem like insurmountable barriers sometimes when you're looking at how do I do this thing called leadership? And they are lies. And we want to take a little bit of time here and disabuse you of the power of these lies. Just kind of deflate.
I thought we were just going to abuse.
We'll probably do a little bit of abusing here. That's kind of the nature of how we work.
Exactly. But no, it's important because I think in my invitation on LinkedIn, I put in there, it's the stuff we tell ourselves.
The stuff.
The stuff we tell ourselves. Because it is, on that trajectory as we're growing in our careers and we're on that path to being leaders, there's anchors and boat anchors that come along with us on, you can't. So it's going to be fun talking about this. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to this. And just so you guys know, as you're listening to this is not rehearsed. We got a bit of a slide deck here that keeps us focused, because if we don't have guardrails, there's no telling where we'll end up. So we wanted to put some guardrails around this. And that's what we're going to be doing here. So without further ado, so you're listening, mine can kind of quiet itself here. How long is this going to take? We're going to be doing this about a half an hour. Yeah, round numbers. Give or take an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are we talking about here? Well, we're talking about the 5 lies of leadership. And again, Doland and I are kind of facilitating this whole thing. And for us, it's just it's a way that we get to talk to each other, quite frankly. we do this over Eggs Benedict sometimes, but this is a great forum for us, and it allows us to kind of stay connected. And we both love this topic. I've been doing leadership development for over 40 years, and Dr. White, you've been doing it just as long as I have. So we've got a combined almost 90 years worth of data, experience, ideas, models, experiences that we've run smack dab into. And amongst those are a bunch of lies that we hear over and over and over again about why people can't lead.
Yeah, it's funny because that's so true. And what's fun about this conversation is these are lies where I think a lot of folks listening to it, particularly over the next 2 or 3 sessions as we walk through this, they're going to go, oh yeah, there's that one.
Yeah, I've heard myself say that.
Oh, there's that one. So this will be fun. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as we do. So
yeah, we have fun doing these things. So we'll see where we end up here. And just so you know, I mean, this is obviously live, but it's recorded as well here. So we're going to be posting this up in a LinkedIn space that we're putting together here. So this is going to be kind of a repository for all things leadership. So you're going to be very welcome to find out more about that and actually come in and be a part of that community. So we'll give you a little bit more information on that down the road here. So I'm going to start by a little quote. Anybody that knows me has experienced, I talk a lot about Stoic philosophy. And Epictetus is one of the kind of seminal figures in the Stoic philosophy constellation. And he wrote something called the Enchiridion. I keep stumbling on that every time I say it, but it was a repository of a lot of his writings, his letters and that sort of thing. And this particular quote, I think, is really apropos for what we're going to be looking at over the course of these next couple of sessions here. It's about lies. If a person gave away your body to some passerby, you'd be furious. Now, just think about that. It's kind of like, here. Yeah, and it's all about slavery in that sense. If somebody just gave your body to somebody else and said, "I'm gonna do with it what you want," you're not going to be a real happy camper. But if you hand over your mind to anybody who comes along, they may abuse you, leaving it disturbed and troubled. And the question he goes on to ask here, have you no shame in that? And essentially what he's talking about is the enslavement that occurs when we buy into other people's lies, into other people's realities, into other people's thinking about what we could, should or shouldn't do. And that's what we want to just kind of unbundle today.
Yeah. Great conversation. Great quote. Great quote. I love this. Even though I can't, I have a hard time remembering to call him Epictetus. Epictetus. But it is important. It's important because, as you're listening to that and listening to Blaine talk about it, just take pause for a moment, because it is that thing where we have a tendency to buy into other stuff. And it was on a call was listening this morning to a LinkedIn thing, kind of stumbled upon a thing done this morning, Blaine, on LinkedIn that was all about tariffs and black swan planning for tariffs and all of the other things that came along with it. And it fed right into this conversation around feeding into and buying in on non-factual and converting it to fact and not thinking about what that means from a leadership perspective. Yeah. So it's funny how that there's a lot of influences that go in. Someday we'll talk about black swans again. So
we're going to talk about, we got a whole series on black swan events.
Yeah,
so this will all go up at our LinkedIn leadership community site. Let's take a look at this here. 5 lies. We'll just jump right into the deep into the pool here. These are the 5 that we're going to be kind of unbundling. We're going to look at 2 of them today. We'll look at 2 of them on Thursday at noon. This is a Tuesday at 2 session. We got a Thursday at noon session that we do. So 2 of these today. We'll look at another couple of them on Thursday. And then the final one, we're going to save for next Tuesday, because we want to do a particularly deep dive into that one and just kind of see where we end up. So these are the 5 lies. Do you want to just quickly give an overview here, sir?
Yeah, happy to. So you think you must maintain. So one of the lies, we'll address this just as we're going through it, is you think you've got to have strict control. It's you. And if you don't maintain strict control, you're weak. And we'll kind of come back to, we'll address this lie today. And lie number 2, we're going to address. You believe you must appear invulnerable. Those number 1 and number 2 are kind of cousins. Number 3, you got to believe that that outcomes are all that matter. And that's that downward and upward pressure that you receive as a leader inside of an organization, which is, I got to get to this goal. And if I don't get to that goal, I'm not a good leader. And you want to do the last 2?
Yep. The decision making, leaders make decisions. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
They don't have to make every decision. Now, I was working with a client today where we were looking at the nature of autonomy and giving people enough free reign out there that you begin to tap into creativity and inspiration and stuff. But if you're, retaining, this is the net of this ends up becoming micromanaging is essentially what we're looking at. And it is a sure way to actually kill your organization, kill the spirit of your team and everything else. And then the final one here has to do with avoiding feedback. Kenny Blanchard, the author of Situational Leadership, Who's Bees, a couple of different, some fascinating little books. If you avoid feedback, thinking it reflects your inadequacy. So, Ken's whole point was feedback is the breakfast of champions. People that are not finding ways to get feedback from others, particularly trusted sources of information that can be vetted and validated, you're not going to go very far. You're going to end up just kind of drowning in your own assumptions. So
true, so true.
These lies get to be fascinating when we start playing with them. So let's take a look at this first one. You think you must maintain strict control. But before we do that, we want to define what leadership is, because that's actually what we're paying attention to here. The front end of this has to do with who is a leader. Well, a leader is anybody that causes movement. How do they cause movement? They cause movement by exercising leadership. Everybody's causing movement all the time. Not all of the movement they're causing gets them where they want to go. And that's the rub. Most people don't know how to cause effective movement so that they can get the results that they're trying to get. And this is where these lies will trip us up faster than just about anything we can think of. The way that we define leadership, and it's got basically 4 components to it here: influencing others. And it takes command and control out of the conversation here. And this is particularly relevant in today's world, with new generations coming up that really chafe at a lot of directive kinds of modalities. So how do you influence others through your state of being? We call this leadership presence. Co-creating coordinated movement. 2 pieces to this: co-creation. Ownership transfers. It's not my idea anymore. It's now our idea, if I've done this well. And then the coordinated movement piece. Leaders move people, they'll move people into unknown territory. And unknown territory, you can't know how to do the dance. You don't know what the safe path is. So you're going to be guaranteed to be stepping on each other's toes as you do that dance. So how do you find a way to coordinate without causing horrendous unintended consequences? And then the final piece of this has to do with pursuit of a worthy ideal, which is, where are you focusing people's attention? Energy follows attention, not intention. And if the attention is on a worthy ideal, one that's worthy of who we are, you're going to have some things that you can actually go to market with. And so these elements are what we're looking at. The lies that we're going to be unbundling in the next couple of days, the next couple of sessions, they fly in the face of this definition. And they end up causing you all kinds of aggravation. So anything to add on that?
No, I think it's important there's the 4 parts, and I always love the outline when I talk about defining leadership in this statement about the difference between influencing and command and control, because there's a spiral that occurs in command and control, right? That occurs to you as a leader. Leaders that are in command and control are really managers. They're really not leaders. They're managers, right? They're resourcing and doing other kinds of stuff. And that whole idea around co-creating and having the power of ownership, the power of co-ownership, creates accountability and a commitment and sets intention. And by setting that intention, then people are willing to move together. Coordinated movement is a willingness to move forward together. And people have to be willing to do that. And the worthy ideal, that's bigger than the goal. But that we go on from there. And I am probably parroting some of this back. But as you think about that, as we think about this from a leadership perspective, think about it from those things. Influencing means I'm not managing. Influencing means I'm leading. Others means it's an unfortunate fact that in all businesses there's other people.
Yep.
Which adds all kinds of complexities. It's kind of, I always love that. I just had a conversation with a client about DISC assessments. And I was saying, okay, did you take it in the morning or afternoon or evening? When did you take the DISC assessment? Because there's, your dial is going to change during the day. And did you have coffee first, or did you come out of a meeting? So your dial changes. So because of the fact that there's others involved, there's complexities. Yeah. And that complexity of personalities changes across the body of a day, a week, a month, a year. Things change. Yep. So when you're influencing others, it gives you those skills to be able to deal with that complexity. So I like this as an encapsulation of what it means to go be a leader. And it also gives you 4 areas as a leader to focus on to benchmark yourself. Am I influencing? Am I co-creating? Am I creating coordinated movement? Is there a willingness for people to move forward? And do we actually know what the heck our worthy ideal is?
Yeah. Yeah. And this becomes, a very detailed exploration when we're actually on with the clients that we're working with. So,
yeah,
but you're getting cliff notes here. So,
yeah.
Okay. So let's take a look at lie number one. You think
Here we go.
maintain strict control over decisions and outcomes. The reason that this one has legs, that this one really kind of comes into play here, has to do with people thinking I am my results.
Oh,
that's where this one comes into play. And if I'm my results, I am going to make damn sure that the results reflect who I think I am. And you talk about clamping things down. Yeah, there's not a lot of wiggle room with this one.
Yeah. It's funny when you think of this one. I was just, as you were saying that, I instantly thought about, I'm going to leave the camera for a moment. And I was going to go get my wooden mallet, my collector's antique mallet, right? I'm going to beat this thing until it conforms to who I think I am.
Yep.
And no matter what it takes, I'm going to beat this company until it fits in the model that I define myself as.
We're going to put this square peg in that round hole.
Yes. Yes. And as I used to tell, having raised 5 sons, I used to tell them all the time, now, son, this isn't going to hurt me at all. So, and they would always appreciate that. They knew they were in trouble after that. So, son.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Watch this one. No, I was going to say this particular lie. The reason it gets so pernicious, it's easy to fall into this lie, particularly if you're used to managing, which is what a lot of people are used to managing, and they get promoted into a leadership role. Yeah, and I want to be real clear here. The role with the title does not a leader make, but there's a lot of assumptions that I need to have the title in order to function as a leader. Well, we get promoted as to a team leader because or a sales director, as an example. I'm a crackerjack salesperson, and I can outsell anybody in the world. So, okay, you're getting promoted. You get to now, lead this team. You're going to try, and I had a guy, when I was running a large organization, a consultancy in Japan. I was over there for about 5 years, lived there for about 5 years. We brought an American over who was just this extraordinarily successful sales guy. And he was going to lead the sales function that we were working with. Well, he was working with Japanese staff, salespeople. And collaboration is, everything works around collaboration in that culture. But he was controlling everything, decisions. He was, it was, do it this way, don't do it that way. And this is the decision I've made. So let's go execute on that. Yeah, I am. And his whole persona was organized around his, sense of identity. I am my results. And if we don't produce that number, it reflects on me. It doesn't reflect on my team. It reflects on me. And I cannot tell you the amount of damage we had to unbundle as a consequence of that. And he learned how to be more effective over time. But the first 9-10 months was.
Oh, I could only imagine. Having sold in Japan, I understand that. I used to hold anyway. Yes, having sold in Japan, it's it's honor driven, and there's all kinds of. You're as good as your bond. So it's funny because there is that sense, which is, I think, a propensity. When you are, I am my results. You are willing to do whatever it takes to maintain your perspective on who you think you are. Mm-hmm. One thing you just touched on that I think is important for everybody listening, since this is obviously well rehearsed. But one thing you just touched on, I think when you are in that I am my results, you also become comparative.
Yes.
And you find yourself in a position where, and this has happened in organizations and teams that I've worked with and led, where individuals in the team think, well, that person has this title, therefore I must have that title because I perceive that I'm doing that work and more. And so there's a comparative nature that fits into that I am my results, which breaks the bonds of, what the real intention behind leadership is. And because of that, they lean in even harder on strict control.
Yep.
Why am I not being seen? Why am I not in that strict control, that desire to micromanage or manage rather than lead becomes even more intense because now I'm in a comparative contest. Why am I not that? And therefore, to be that, I need to do more of this.
And the real unfortunate consequence of that, or spin out on that, is people that are buying into this lie, they tend to sort for where things are going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's that's what the idea of control is about. You don't get experimentation, you don't get risk taking, because the leader in this case is not allowing that to occur at all, and as a consequence you lose creativity, you lose innovation, you lose momentum, and you end up getting compliance from people, not emotional engagement.
Yeah, nicely said. Nicely said. And it's funny. I think the kind of the rule when we go on to the next one too, but the rule behind that is your I am, and we talk about the nature of the words I am, right? Our challenge and other stuff that we do. But when we talk about that I am, results don't define that I am. And
Right.
it's an easy trap to fall into. I missed my numbers, therefore I'm bad.
Yep.
I blew out my numbers, therefore I'm good. And that is not I am. That is not the definition that sits inside of I am. I am is an entirely different entity. And you're in discourse. You're in dis-ease when you live with I am my results. You create dis-ease.
Yep.
So
yeah, that goes directly back to the influencing component of our definition of leadership.
Yeah, great catch. Yeah.
Yeah, how you're influencing. If you're influencing based on your assumption that the external defines who you are, it's never going to work well, because that's going to lead you directly into this lie. And
Yep.
you won't be influencing, you will be commanding and controlling.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we'll just do one lie each session. We could go like long on this particular. Let's do the next lie just in case. So,
Okay, just in case
right.
here.
Just in case.
They kind of go hand in hand here.
Yes.
You want people to believe that that you're invulnerable. I know the answer. I am the boss. I know the answer. And the old, don't let them see you sweat. Don't let them see you sweat. Don't introduce any kind of uncertainty into the mix. And guys, when you're moving into the unknown, which is what leaders do, they move into the unknown. You can't know everything. And if you pretend that you do, you're going to lose trust immediately, because people know the game. They know the game. And fake it till you make it doesn't work here. It doesn't work.
Yeah. You can't fake authenticity. No, it's true. Because when you're in that mode, there is that perception that if you are vulnerable, then you're relinquishing control.
Yep.
Well, it turns out that if you are vulnerable, you actually are not relinquishing control. You're gaining influence.
Exactly.
There's a magic sentence that I've always talked about and taught with clients, which is, "Hey, I could use some help with." And it's a little preamble, it's just, "Hey, I could use some help with," and then whatever understanding, da 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 da, or I don't really see how I'm not seeing this clearly, or can we talk about this again and make sure? But hey, I could use some help with, and it's amazing how disarming and relaxing. Not to give everybody there's your practical pro tip for today, but how that does that, but it also enables that leader, that individual, to relax a little bit into being vulnerable, because you're not saying, "Hey, I actually have no idea what the hell I'm talking about." Just like, hey, I could really use some help understanding this.
Yeah. So that linguistic switch, I mean, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, is different than I could really use some help in understanding this. That is a completely different thing. One of my old mentors one time said to me, people connect through vulnerability. And
Mm.
and we were having that conversation in the domain of leadership. We were talking about just kind of how we actually, move people. He says, well,
Yeah, yeah.
it's all relationship. If people don't feel connected to you, they're not going to do anything with you. And people connect through vulnerability. And then over the course of my career, I validated that over and over and over again. And it became very obvious to me that the corollary on that, was they will disconnect through certainty. People will connect through vulnerability. They will disconnect through certainty. So if a leader sees themselves as not being vulnerable, or positions themselves as not being, there's no place for people to connect. It just becomes a wall that they bounce off of. And you're left standing there, kind of, looking, what happened?
I'm sorry, but yes, I only chuckle when you say that because I think of an incident in my personal life where I approach absolutely being incorrect with certainty. And my wife will, fortify that because I'm absolutely certain this is it and I'm completely wrong. And so rather than stopping for a moment and breathing and going, hey, I'm not real sure about that answer. How about, and it's funny because that there is that corollary in leadership where we approach that. And I'll butcher this. Correct me on this. Not that you wouldn't, but the saying around around it's more important. Leaders sometimes consider that it's more important to be right
Mm,
than
get
correct.
what they say they want.
Yes. So it is that when I'm invulnerable, I'm going to make diamonds out of this chunk of coal, and I'm not going to become vulnerable so that we can co-create, we can collaborate, we can, you know, move forward together.
Yep.
So
Yeah, the idea of being right. I mean, if you look at, the human condition, I think that the need to be right is it's universal. It's universal. And to your point, far more. I mean, I would say that probably 99.9% of the people on this planet would rather be right than get what they say they want.
yeah,
Truly,
great statement. Yes, there you
just
go.
I'd rather be right than get what I. Yeah, I remember an argument with my wife years ago about something as inconsequential as squeezing the toothpaste tube in the wrong place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I said, I do it the right way. From the bottom, I work it up. It's just, I mean, it's always available. She's wonderfully creative. Wherever her hand lands is where she squeezes, and it's, I've got toothpaste everywhere in the tube. So getting into an argument about something as silly as the right place to squeeze it sacrifices what I say I want, which is a harmonious, loving, caring, nurturing relationship with this person that is the most important one in my life. That goes out the window because I'm going to be right.
Yes, at the
And
cost.
and there's this little voice that just kind of pops out of, just kind of this mini me that looks down at me when I'm in the middle of that kind of an
Yeah.
argument, going, "Hey, idiot, what are you doing?" And I'll look up at that little mini me and I'll say, "Shut up, I'm winning. I'm
Yeah.
winning."
Quit talking.
Yeah. Don't let him let you. Yeah. I'm not gonna
No, that's
I'm not
true.
gonna cede any ground here.
Yeah, that's true. But if you think about that, you could think about that, and without kind of we could get really long on this, just this law by in and unto itself. But it's the dynamics. Those are the dynamics in meetings.
Mhm.
Those are the dynamics in decisions. Those are the dynamics in strategy creation, vision creation. I need to be right. And therefore, because I need to be right, I'm going to do it at the sacrifice of the worthy ideal.
Bingo. Yep.
And
And
when I
write about my territory, write about my silo, write about my point of view. I mean, fill in the blank.
I'm going to be, I told you we could never do it. I need to be right, whether it's a positive or negative right.
Yep.
And I'm going to do that at the sacrifice of my worthy ideal. And as a leader, that's what we're leading towards. We're leading towards that's the outcome.
Yep.
It is not 10% increase in sales. I'm leading towards a worthy outcome,
Yep.
worthy ideal. So, yeah, these are two really great lies.
So part of the question here, and this is one of the things we don't want to just leave you with lies. We want to give you at least an idea of how you begin to overcome them.
Oh,
Uh,
that.
that. Well, we have developed a couple of reference models, and we're not going to belabor this by any way, shape, or form. But these two models work hand in glove. They really do. And when you look at these and unbundle them a little bit here, this leadership universe, this is the universe in which leaders operate. There's a number of different components to it, but the ones that people are most familiar with are the why, what, and how, which is the vision, strategy, tactics area. The lower portions of this, mindset and spirit, have to do with how you begin to move beyond the lies. The lies exist in the mindset of people. That's where the lies exist. And when you begin to explore that mindset in terms of, is this valid or not? Is this idea congruent today? It may have been valid and congruent 15 years ago, but is it valid and true today? We start shedding light on things, and all of a sudden what we thought was true is no longer true. And this is where you begin to uncouple some things here so that something else becomes possible. As long as this mindset is literally set in concrete, it's not explored, the spirit of the endeavor, kind of the spirit of it doesn't get a chance to be expressed. And this is where the spirit, when you can tap into spirit, this is where emotional engagement becomes possible, because now you've tapped into something that's important to people. And the only way to that spirit is through the mindset that caps it, that keeps it literally held captive. So the work that we do with our clients, almost exclusively, it's in the area of mindset and spirit. Now, we do pay attention, obviously, to vision, strategy, and tactics. But that's not the body of the work. Fully 99%, not 99, probably 95% of the work we do is in mindset and tapping into spirit. How we do that has to do with literally the foundation on which all of this is built, which is supported by 4 pillars.
Yeah, and this is just kind of in summary. The 4 pillars give you the ability to do something with mindset and spirit. Once you set vision and tactics and strategy, once that is set, generally you have a path that you're working for. It is the mindset that moves people towards that, and it is the spirit in which they engage. But then what do you do? How do you do it? The first pillar that I talk about, and these all hook together, they aren't nothing in the leadership universe and nothing in this model is something first I do this and then I do that and then I do this. I wish it worked that way and then it'd be easy, but it doesn't. But the first is trust. And trust means I trust me, and I trust me to trust you, and you trust you, and you trust me. And it gives us that ability to set up co-creating. It sets up collaboration, sets up a willingness to innovate, and sets up the freedom of autonomy. Being autonomous doesn't mean you are unsupervised and you get to go run rampant. It means that we trust each other, that we're both moving towards a worthy ideal. And autonomy is the power in which I let you go pursue it in the way you pursue it, because you're unique. You're going to do it differently than I do it. And that's required. And then communication transparency just means that we have set up a way to align our trust, kind of to flip the words backwards in the description, but it gives us the ability to align trust. Accountability is not, I say this over and over and over. I had a conversation this morning with a client about this. Accountability is not a Trello board. It is not Monday.com. It is not Asana. It is not Todoist. It is not tasks in my phone. Accountability is, those are things that measure, that tell you stuff or remind you things. But accountability is a commitment made that says, I'm going to be accountable to this outcome and you're accountable to me. So it sets up a mutual commitment and an intention to move forward. It builds an intention so that we can measure our progress. We both understand the challenges, and we both, or the team, commits to maintaining momentum, because it's not going to go the way you thought it was going to go. I wish it would, but it's not. Maybe that's the second leadership for today. It ain't going to go the way you thought it was going to go. And then the last one is growth and innovation. Without those other pieces, in all organizations, the intention is to grow. Even, whether you're a charitable organization doing philanthropic work, or you're a for-profit, or you're a government entity, and the intention is to have a positive outcome of some kind. And growth and innovation gives you the ability to do that, and do that at velocity, take the risks and experiment. So these are the 4 pillars that live in conjunction with the leadership universe, that allow you to implement mindset and implement spirit into your organization, and then keep it consistent so that people not only rise to it, but they thrive at those 2 levels. They
And
literally thrive.
And all of that conspires to break through the shackles of those 2 lies that we were just exploring, in addition to the other 3 that we're going to be looking at in the next couple
Oh, yeah.
of. So what's our next step here? I mean, data is data is interesting. Information is interesting, but it's useless if it just kind of sits out here in the ether and nothing happens with it. So
yes,
we've got an invitation for you here, and we'll just talk about this. Einstein famously said, nothing happens until something moves. And when you look at studies on behavior change and goal completion, only about 20 to 30% of any participant in any kind of a personal or professional development program actually follows through on the action plans, unless there's some additional support provided. And those additional support, this is one of the reasons that we're setting up this LinkedIn community, because we want to give you guys a place here where you can actually communicate with Doland and myself. We're going to moderate this, but also with peers that are kind of going through some of the same stuff that you're doing. So it'll provide a kind of a room, if you will, for regular check-ins. Peer groups can boost follow-through rates, literally up to 80% or better. I mean, that's what some of these studies indicate. So this is what we're going to be doing here. We're going to invite you to participate in this community, as well as a couple of other things that we've got here. And one of the reasons that we want to do this is because we know that action matters. If you're not taking action, nothing happens until something moves. So breaking through on some of these lies requires generating new habits, because a lot of these lies are in place because habits have not been examined.
Yeah.
They just haven't been examined. And when you can begin reinforcing new habits, you begin to build momentum towards a different future, a different outcome, a different history becomes possible. And the consequence of this, from a leadership perspective, is you begin to increase your team's confidence in that future actually occurring, because you're demonstrating commitment to applying different kinds of lessons with your team. It's not just a rote repeat of what we did last quarter. And ultimately, your impact as a leader goes up dramatically. Because implementing, this is where the whole idea of emotional engagement comes into play.
Yes. Well, so we're talking about the Leadership Mindset Mastermind. Thank you very much. Great, good segue. I like that.
Good segue. Just a handoff.
You do this one. So Blaine and I are partnered in a mastermind, and today we'll talk about what that means here. But what the mastermind encompasses is, it's an opportunity to be in the power of a mastermind together, to work with peers in the mastermind on a collaborative basis, to talk about leadership, to really focus in on mindset, spirit, and the 4 pillars on how do you take this back with you into your company, into your life, into your families. And the mastermind it's coming up. It's a future date. But it also includes it's a private community. It's a small group. We try to keep these groups to a size where they can be intimate. One of the challenges, I think, with any large mastermind is you lose a value by losing intimacy. So the intention is to keep this group at a size that it's not unwieldy, and that it does remain intimate. So we call it a private community. And we go beyond skills. So we actually will get together for a couple of times. When we do that, it's an opportunity for us to learn from each other, to try different things. We won't get into what happened previously with some of those kinds of events. However, that really is what the Leadership Mindset Mastermind is all about. And we lean hard into leadership mindset, because vision, strategy, tactics is a very common set of curriculum that leaders get that's rote. We're taught that vision, strategy, tactics, outcome, boom, I'm done. And that tip of the iceberg ignores the mindset that it takes for you to succeed, and the mindset for you to be able to teach your team to succeed and create that community of leaders in your organization. Everybody has that capability. So that's really where we focus. And that's our invitation to you is, next slide, join the waiting list. Come, if you're interested, come join the waiting list with us. We'll talk to you about it, and we'll tell you about how much the mastermind is, all of the details around it. But come join us into there you keep talking, but there you go. So we're summarizing the key talking points. There you go. Leadership. Go to that, and we'll put that into the chat later another time inside of the comments. But do join the waiting list. Joining the waiting list is not a commitment to buy. Joining the waiting list says, hey, I want to know more about it. And both Blaine and I feel very firm on the idea of detachment. We're not attached to having you come sit in the mastermind with us. When it's the right time for you, it will be the right time.
And we've got a waiting list because for a lot of people, it has been the right time. And
that's the challenge.
Yeah, and to Dolan's point, we curate this group. We keep it purposely small, bite-sized, so that we've got a lot of personal contact.
Yeah.
And you'll find out obviously more information when you schedule a call with us. But just so that over that year-long period, it's Dolan and I every week. You get Dolan and I every single week, and that's our commitment to you. And we will take a very deep dive into the areas of mindset and spirit and the 4 pillars and how they actually kind of commingle with all of this stuff. So it's a full curriculum. It is a very full curriculum.
We should probably disclaim it too. It is a working mastermind.
It is a working.
You don't get to just show up and listen to 2 guys talk to you.
No,
there's homework. There's work. There is stuff to do.
You don't get to just come in and suck air. That's not what you get to do.
And be a donut. What was
be a donut? Yeah,
be a donut.
And show up as a glazed donut. What's your job? I'm sucking air. I'm an air circulator.
Oh my God!
A lot of people are that.
I know. So there's the link.
That's the link right there.
And
the QR code is also goes right directly to that. So if you're listening to this or watching this on mobile, just scan the QR code and you'll drop right in. And that's it for today. We're a little bit over the 30-minute mark, but we'll be back with you on Thursday at noon. We've got 2 more lessons that we'll be going through, and or 2 more lessons, 2 more lies.
2 more lies
that we're going to be unbundling.
Yeah.
And if you're watching this on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or wherever it is that you're picking this up, drop some comments in. And stay tuned. We'll be sending out some information to you about the mindset or the leadership leadership mindset community that we're organizing on LinkedIn. It'll be on LinkedIn. So you're going to be more than welcome to join us there. No cost to join. It's a free membership community that we're going to curate a lot of information on.
Coming out.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks. Everybody have a great rest of the day. See you Thursday.